The silence of deep space was heavy around Ethan's small ship. He sat in the cockpit checking his systems when something strange happened. A voice, soft, trembling, not human. Please help me. Save my mother. The sky hunters are coming. Ethan froze. The voice echoed through the comm system, but no channel was open. He tapped his controls, trying to locate the source. Static hissed, but then the voice returned. Only a human can save her, St. Please. Ethan's heart pounded. He was alone on a supply run near the outer rim. No one should be here. No ship, no signal. And yet the words were clear. He leaned forward. "Who's there? Show yourself." No reply. Only silence. The dark windows of space stretched on forever, cold and endless. Ethan rubbed his face. Maybe it was his mind playing tricks. Too many nights without sleep. Too much isolation. Then, thump. A sound inside the ship. Ethan whipped around, pulling his sidearm from the panel. He stood slowly, each step heavy as he walked to the storage bay. The lights flickered. The air felt colder. Another thump. A small shadow moved behind a crate. "Come out," Ethan commanded. "Now." A figure stepped out. Small, thin, not human. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes, large and glowing faintly in the dark. She looked like a child, an alien child. She held her hands up, shaking. "Please," she whispered, her voice the same one from the comms. "Don't hurt me. I need your help." Ethan's grip on his weapon tightened. His first thought, danger. Aliens were rare out here, and most were not friendly, but this one looked terrified. "What are you doing on my ship?" he asked. She trembled. "I hid. When the sky hunters attacked my colony, my mother tried to fight them. She was captured. I escaped. Please. Only you can help her." Ethan lowered his weapon slightly, but kept his eyes sharp. The sky hunters. He had heard stories. Raiders, of the stars, ruthless and cruel. They burned worlds, enslaved the weak, and killed anyone who resisted. No one dared to cross them. "Why me?" Ethan asked. "Why a human?" The girl's glowing eyes met his. "Because humans are not afraid. My mother said, humans never give up." Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to laugh bitterly. He was no hero, just a pilot hauling supplies across dead space. But the desperation in her voice made it impossible to turn away. He sighed. "What's your name?" "Lyra," she said softly. "All right, Lyra," Ethan muttered. "Tell me everything. From the start," she explained in broken words. The sky hunters had descended without warning. Her people tried to hide, but the hunters were too strong. Her mother, a warrior, had fought bravely but was overwhelmed. Lyra slipped away, crawling into the cargo of an abandoned human transport, and ended up here. Her story was simple, painful, real. Ethan believed her. Still, doubt gnawed at him. Helping her meant putting himself against the most feared killers in the galaxy, alone with nothing but his small ship. Certain death. He walked back to the cockpit, staring out at the stars. "You should know something, kid. The sky hunters don't leave survivors. If your mother's still alive, it's because they want her to suffer." Lyra's small voice trembled. "That is why I beg you. You can do what others cannot. You are human. You fight even when hope is gone." Her words struck deep. Ethan remembered the old stories of Earth, how humans had fought impossible wars, stood against stronger enemies, and survived when no one believed they could. He clenched his fists. The right choice was clear, but it was also the hardest. He turned to her. "Fine, I'll help you. But if we're going to do this, you follow my orders. No mistakes. Understand?" Her eyes widened, glowing with sudden hope. She nodded quickly. "Yes, I will listen." Ethan sat back in the pilot's chair. He keyed the engines, plotting a new course. His heart felt heavy, yet alive with purpose. Then the ship's radar beeped. A signal, large, moving fast. Ethan's eyes widened as the scanner drew the shape of a massive vessel, It was coming straight toward them. The child's face went pale. "It's them," she whispered. "The sky hunters." Ethan gritted his teeth. His decision had been made. No turning back now. The chase had already begun. The black void of space was never silent for long. Ethan's ship drifted on the edge of the nebula, engines low when the radar screamed again. A shape filled the screen. Huge. Hungry. A sky hunter warship. Its shadow stretched like a beast across the stars. Dark metal armor, sharp as knives, glowed with red veins of energy. No human ship could match its size. No patrol would dare to face it. Ethan's stomach tightened. "So it begins," he muttered. Lyra sat behind him, gripping the seat with trembling hands. Her voice shook. "That is their mark. When you see that shape, it means death." The sky hunters didn't send warnings. They sent fear. But this time, a message flickered across Ethan's comm screen. The voice was deep, broken with static. "Cold. Human vessel. You carry what belongs to us. The child. Surrender her, or be destroyed." Lyra gasped. She pressed herself into the chair, eyes wide. "They know. They always know." Ethan narrowed his eyes. He switched off the comm but kept his gaze on the warship. He had expected this. Hunters were predators. They could smell weakness. They could sense prey. But Ethan was no prey. He leaned closer to Lyra. "Listen to me. Do not speak. Do not move. They want fear. Don't give it to them." She nodded, tears glistening in her glowing eyes. Ethan powered his engine slowly, making it look like he was turning away. The warship tracked his every move, his radar filled with smaller dots, hunter patrol craft fast and sharp spreading out like wolves around his ship. Lyra whispered, "We cannot run. They will catch us." Ethan's lips curled into a thin smile. "That's what they think." He tapped the control panel and pulled a lever. Instantly the ship jolted downward, diving toward a field of dead asteroids. Massive rocks floated, broken and jagged, colliding gently in the void. The hunter patrols followed. Ethan spun the ship sideways, weaving between the rocks. His fingers danced over the controls with perfect focus. The hunters fired, red blasts tearing through stone, exploding into clouds of dust. Each shot shook his ship. "Hold on," Ethan shouted. Lyra clung to her seat. The small ship twisted like a leaf in a storm, slipping through cracks barely wide enough. The hunter crafts were faster, but not smarter. One slammed into a rock and burst into fire. Another clipped an asteroid edge, spinning out before exploding. But still, more came. The warship's voice returned. "You cannot escape. Surrender the child." Ethan's jaw tightened. He thought quickly. He knew he couldn't fight them head-on. His weapons were weak. His ship was light. But humans were not about strength alone. Humans survived because they adapted. He pulled hard on the controls, diving into a cave cut deep into an asteroid. The patrols hesitated before following. The tunnel was narrow, too narrow for their big engines. Inside the dark passage, sparks scraped against his ship's hull. The walls closed in. But Ethan didn't slow. He pushed faster, deeper. Lyra squeezed her eyes shut. "We will crash. Trust me," Ethan said, voice steady. Behind them, a hunter craft followed, but its wings smashed against the walls. Fire consumed it in an instant. At the tunnel's end, Ethan burst out into open space again, straight into the shadows of a red gas cloud. His ship vanished inside. The hunters swarmed, scanning, searching, but the nebula swallowed him whole. For a moment, silence. Ethan exhaled slowly. His hands trembled slightly, but he hid it. Lyra opened her eyes. "How did you do that? How did you escape them?" Ethan gave a half smile. "Hunters are strong, but strength makes them blind. They never expect someone to take the dangerous path. That's what humans do. We take risks when others won't. She stared at him with wonder, as if seeing him, not as prey, but as something else. But Ethan's relief didn't last. His sensors beeped again. The warship was still out there, circling the nebula like a predator waiting at the den. They weren't fooled. They were patient. And patience was deadly. Lyra's voice was small. They will never stop. They will follow until they catch us. Ethan looked at the swirling gas outside, red lightning flashing through the mist. A place. No sane pilot entered. His mind worked quickly. Then we'll go where they won't dare, he said. He turned the ship toward the heart of the nebula, a storm of fire and electricity. Even his computer screamed warnings. Navigation failure. Risk of total destruction. Ethan ignored it. Behind them, the Hunter warship hovered, watching. They didn't follow into the storm. They expected him to burn, to die inside. But Ethan had something they didn't. Human stubbornness. He gripped the controls tighter. If they want you, Lyra, they'll have to take us from the fire itself. The ship vanished deeper into the red storm, swallowed whole. The hunt had only just begun. The storm swallowed Ethan's ship like an angry beast. Red clouds of gas rolled outside, flashing with bursts of blue lightning. The control panels screamed warnings. Hook, suspense. Start. The ship jolted violently. Sparks rained from the ceiling. For a moment, Ethan thought the hull would tear apart. Then came something stranger, whispers. Not from the comms, not from the ship. From the nebula itself. 1,000 voices whispered through the static, words he couldn't understand but heavy with meaning. It felt like the nebula was alive. Ethan gritted his teeth, forcing the ship forward. Lyra clung to her seat, eyes wide, with fear. The storm. It speaks, she whispered. Another burst of lightning struck the hull, shaking the entire ship. Stay calm, Ethan said, though his hands were shaking on the controls. It's only energy. We can ride it. But deep inside, he wasn't sure. The nebula's shadows. The deeper they went, the stranger it became. The ship's scanners failed completely. No star maps, no navigation, just endless red fog. Shapes moved in the mist, long shadows with glowing eyes, circling like sharks. Lyra gasped. They are watching us. Ethan tightened his jaw. He knew. She was right. Something lived here, and it wasn't friendly. A sudden thud hit the ship, hard. Metal groaned. Ethan whipped his head to the side window. Something had latched on. A creature. Its body was like black smoke, but claws of sharp crystal dug into the hull. Its face was shifting, always changing but always staring. Dozens of eyes blinked in and out across its form. Lyra screamed. It's a mist phantom. They eat light, they eat life. The creature clawed at the ship, pulling itself closer. Sparks burst. Lights flickered. Another phantom joined it, then another. The nebula swarmed with them. Ethan's breath came hard. His weapons were useless inside the gas. Blasters would only overload. He needed another way. He pulled the ship hard downward, shaking the phantoms loose against a jagged asteroid floating in the storm. 2 of them smashed against it, dissolving into smoke, but more came. They won't stop, Lyra cried. Neither do I, Ethan muttered. The mother's secret as they fought through the storm. Lyra's eyes suddenly lit up. She pressed her hands to the glass, whispering. She was here, my mother. She left something, a path. Ethan frowned. What are you talking about? Lyra pointed to the fog. Strange marks glowed faintly on the rocks ahead. Symbols scratched deep into the stone. Not natural, not random. They are her signs, Lyra said. She used to teach me the old marks. This way leads to safety. Ethan blinked in surprise. Your mother left a trail? Yes, Lyra said, her voice rising with hope. She always knew the hunter's tricks. She hid us once in this storm. She must have left these marks for me in case I escaped. Ethan looked at the glowing marks again. They were faint, almost invisible in the gas. But they formed a line. A secret path through the storm. The phantoms hissed and swirled around, pressing closer. Ethan didn't hesitate. He turned the ship following the glowing trail. Each mark led them deeper into the nebula, away from the creatures. The voices in the storm grew softer, less angry, as if the nebula itself respected the path. Lyra pressed her hands together, whispering, "We are close, I can feel her." Human resolve. Ethan kept his eyes forward. "Don't get ahead of yourself, kid. This could still be a trap." Lyra shook her head. "No, my mother is strong. She wouldn't give up." Her words reminded Ethan of something buried deep inside him. Memories of Earth, of old soldiers who fought hopeless wars, of his own father who once told him, "Humans don't quit, not when someone needs us." He exhaled slowly. Maybe that was why this alien girl trusted him. Maybe that was why he couldn't let her down. The trail ended at a massive asteroid, larger than any he had seen before. Its surface was cracked and glowing with strange energy. On it, scratched deep into the rock, was a single symbol, larger than the rest. Lyra gasped. It is her mark for prison. She was taken beyond this point. Ethan's stomach sank. Then we're close to the hunters. As if to confirm it, his radar blinked alive again. A signal pulsed from beyond the asteroid. Strong, artificial. The Sky Hunters' base. The Phantom's warning. Before Ethan could plan, the ship rocked violently again. A phantom, larger than the rest, slammed against the window. Its shifting face, pressed close, eyes burning with red fire. But this one didn't attack. It spoke. Not with words, but with a flood of images. Ethan's mind filled with visions. A massive prison ship, floating in black space, screams from cages. The alien mother, chained and weak. The hunters circling like vultures. Ethan staggered, clutching his head. The vision ended as quickly as it came. The phantom hissed, then vanished back into the fog. He breathed hard, sweat dripping. It showed me where she is. Lyra leaned forward. My mother? Yes, Ethan said. They're holding her, and they want us to come. Cliffhanger ending. The nebula cleared slightly ahead, revealing the distant outline of a colossal ship. Dark, silent, waiting. The Sky Hunters' prison. Ethan tightened his grip on the controls. His heart pounded with both fear and determination. This is it, he muttered. Your mother's alive. But getting her back, it will be suicide. Lyra's small voice trembled, but her eyes burned with hope. Then we must do what no one else dares. The prison ship loomed larger in the void. Its red lights flickered like the eyes of a predator, and Ethan knew there was no turning back. The nebula had faded behind them. Now, only silence filled the dark. The Sky Hunters' prison ship loomed ahead, bigger than any city Ethan had ever seen. Its surface was jagged metal, glowing with crimson lights like the veins of some giant beast. Hook. Suspense start. The ship's comms, suddenly, cracked alive. A scream burst through the static, high, desperate, and broken. Lyra, run. Don't let them take you. The voice was raw with pain. The alien girl froze in her seat. Her hands shook as she pressed against the console. Mother. The scream cut off. Silence. Then came the Sky Hunter's voice. Cold. Metallic. We know you are here, human. Bring us the child and you may yet live. Ethan slammed the comms shut, his teeth grinding. His heart burned with rage. They weren't just hunters. They were playing games. The trap Lyra's face was pale. She's alive, she whispered. But they want us to come. Ethan nodded grimly. Yeah, it's a trap, a big one. He scanned the prison ship. Countless weapons lined its hull. Dozens of patrol craft circled it like vultures. The chances of surviving an attack were zero. Still, Lyra's eyes locked onto him with desperate hope. We must go, please. She called for me. You heard her. Ethan exhaled slowly. He wanted to tell her the truth, that running into the heart of a hunter fortress was madness. But then he remembered why he was here. Not for himself, not for survival, for her, and for her mother. "All right," Ethan said quietly. "We'll go, but we don't walk in blind. First we listen." Cracking the signal, Ethan pulled a small toolkit from under the seat. Wires, signal readers, old human tech. He linked it into the comm system. The last fragments of the distress call flickered on the screen. He played it again. The scream, the warning, then silence. But in the background, faint and almost hidden, was a pulse. A code. Ethan narrowed his eyes. He had worked with military codes before. This one was strange, broken, alien, but it repeated like a heartbeat. "Your mother's smart," Ethan muttered. She slipped a signal into the scream. A map. Lyra leaned close, eyes wide. "She knew I would come." Ethan didn't answer. He was too focused. He traced the code, breaking down the pulse into numbers, then into coordinates. A small smile tugged at his lips. There. A weak point in the prison ship. An old vent system. Small enough to hide us, big enough for me to fly through. Lyra's hope returned like fire. "Then we can save her." Ethan's face hardened. "Don't celebrate yet. If she left this trail, the hunters may have seen it too. They'll expect us." The blockade Ethan turned his ship toward the prison vessel. The patrol craft shifted, instantly forming a net around him. Red beams cut across space, a cage of light. A hunter voice echoed again. "Last warning, human. Give us the child." Ethan smirked coldly. "Yeah, come take her." He pulled the controls hard. The ship dropped in a steep dive, engines screaming. Blasts of red fire chased them, cutting through the void. Asteroids shattered around them, explosions bursting like thunder. Lyra cried, out, clinging to the chair. "They'll hit us." "Not if I hit them first," Ethan growled. He twisted the ship, diving straight at one patrol craft. At the last second, he spun sideways. The hunter ship fired too late. Its own blast tore through another patrol behind it. The explosion lit the black sky. Ethan pushed the engines harder, racing toward the glowing vent entrance. Into the maw. The vent was narrow, hidden behind broken plating. Only someone insane or desperate would fly into it. Ethan grinned. "Lucky for us, I'm both." The ship scraped metal as he forced it inside. Sparks flew. The passage was so tight Ethan could barely move. Behind them, the patrol craft tried to follow, but smashed against the walls, exploding one by one. Lyra squeezed her eyes shut. "We're going to die." Ethan kept his hand steady. "Not today." Finally, they burst through into the dark inner tunnels of the prison ship. The noise outside vanished. No more patrols, only silence. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. "We made it," Ethan nodded. "Inside, but it's not over. Now the real game begins." The hunters taunt as if to answer. The ship's speakers crackled again. A new voice filled the air. Deep, mocking. "So the human dares enter our nest. Good. We were bored." The voice chuckled darkly. "Bring her to us, and we will let you die quickly. Resist, and we will tear you apart slowly, while she watches." Ethan muted the comms, his jaw tight. He wouldn't give them the pleasure of hearing his reply. Instead, he whispered to Lyra, "We're not giving them anything. We take your mother back, no matter the cost." Lyra looked at him, her fear fading, replaced by fierce trust. "Then I will follow you." Cliffhanger ending. The ship slowed inside the massive tunnels. Lights glowed red along the walls, leading deeper into the prison. On Ethan's scanner, a single dot blinked, the source of the distress signal. Lyra's mother. But as he moved closer, the scanner lit up with dozens more signals. They weren't prisoners, they were guards, waiting. Ethan tightened his grip on the controls. His voice was low, hard. "They know we're here, and they're ready." The prison halls echoed with the sound of hunter engines powering up. The trap was closing. The tunnel walls shook as Ethan's small ship scraped through the narrow passage. Sparks flashed outside the window, painting Lyra's pale face with bursts of orange light. She clung to her seat, her glowing eyes wide with fear. Hook, suspense start. Suddenly the ship lurched, metal ground against metal. Then the vessel burst out into a massive chamber inside the prison ship. Ethan's breath caught in his chest. The chamber stretched like a city under a dark sky. Endless cages floated in the air, suspended by glowing beams. Thousands of alien prisoners stared with hollow eyes. Some screamed, some whispered. Others sat in silence, broken. The prison of chains. Lyra gasped, pressing her hand to the window. So many. They've taken so many. Ethan's jaw tightened. He had heard of the hunter's cruelty, but seeing it with his own eyes made his blood boil. The silent descent Ethan powered down the engines to a low hum, gliding through the chamber. Red lights flickered along the walls, watching him like eyes. Stay quiet, he whispered. If they don't know where we are yet, we keep it that way. But he wasn't sure they hadn't already spotted him. The hunters were predators. Silence didn't mean safety. He landed the ship on a hidden ledge behind a row of broken cages. The airlock hissed open. Cold, metallic air rushed in, smelling of rust and despair. Ethan checked his blaster, then handed Lyra a small tool from his belt. Stay behind me. If anything moves, you hide, got it? She nodded, though her small hands shook. Together they stepped into the prison. The chains the hall stretched endlessly, lined with cages. Some prisoners whispered weakly as Ethan passed. A reptilian alien reached out, its scaled hand trembling. Don't fight them, human. You cannot win. Ethan didn't reply. He kept his focus forward. Then Lyra froze. She pointed. Her mother. In the center of the chamber, chained to a glowing pillar, was a tall, alien woman. Her skin was the same pale blue as Lyra's, but her body was bruised and her eyes heavy with exhaustion. Still, even in her weakness, she radiated strength. Mother! Lyra cried, rushing forward. The woman's head lifted slowly. When she saw her daughter, her eyes widened. Tears glistened. Lyra, you live. She strained against her chains, but the metal held tight. Ethan grabbed Lyra's arm, pulling her back. Careful. If she's in the open like this, it means... A low growl cut him off. The hunter captain. From the shadows stepped a giant figure, armor black and jagged. His face was hidden behind a mask of bone, his eyes glowing red. The sky hunter captain, HFY, carried a massive blade that hummed with energy, its edge dripping sparks into the air. His voice boomed across the chamber. So, the human comes crawling into our nest. Ethan raised his blaster. I didn't crawl. I walked in. Now let her go. The hunter laughed, the sound echoing like thunder. Bold words. You are weak, flesh, fragile bones. Yet you dare stand in our path? He stepped closer, towering over Ethan. Give me the child and I will let you live long enough to see your world burn. Lyra clutched Ethan's sleeve, trembling, but Ethan didn't flinch. He stared straight into the captain's burning eyes. You made one mistake, Ethan said coldly. You thought humans scare easy. The chaos, the captain roared and swung his blade. Ethan dived sideways, firing his blaster. Blue sparks exploded against the hunter's armor but barely scratched it. The prisoners screamed, rattling their cages as the fight erupted. The captain charged again, each strike shaking the floor. Ethan rolled, ducked, and fired shot after shot. None pierced the armor. He was fast, but the hunter was faster. Stronger. Lyra cried out, Ethan! The captain's blade smashed into the ground beside Ethan, sending shards of metal flying. Ethan staggered back, heart pounding. He knew he couldn't win in a head-on fight, so he thought fast. Above the chamber, glowing pipes ran through the walls, energy conduits feeding the prison. Ethan aimed not at the captain, but at the pipes. He fired. The conduit exploded, lightning ripped through the air, sparks raining down. The blast blinded the captain, forcing him to stumble back with a furious roar. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. Run! They dashed to the pillar where her mother was chained. Ethan pulled out his toolkit, cutting at the glowing locks. Sparks flew. The chains resisted but slowly weakened. "Hold on," Ethan grunted. Almost there. The alarm suddenly, the chamber shook. Sirens wailed. Red lights blazed brighter. The prison walls trembled with the sound of heavy engines powering up. The captain roared again, his blade dragging sparks as he rose to his full height. "You dare defy us? Then all of you will die screaming." Ethan's tool sparked one final time. The last chain snapped. Lyra's mother fell forward into his arms, weak but alive. "Go," she whispered hoarsely. "They will come." Ethan nodded. "Then we'll be ready." Cliffhanger ending. The chamber doors burst open. Dozens of armored hunters poured in, their red eyes glowing like fire in the dark. Ethan stood between them and the alien family, blaster raised, breath heavy. His body ached, but his eyes burned with defiance. "Looks like the whole nest is awake," he muttered. The captain raised his blade high. The hunters roared in unison, their voices shaking the prison walls. And in that moment, Ethan knew. This was not just a rescue. This was a war. The prison shook with the roar of the sky hunters. Red lights flashed like blood against steel walls. Ethan stood at the center of the storm, one human, a blaster in hand, guarding Lyra and her wounded mother. Hook. Suspense start. The hunter captain raised his massive blade. His voice echoed like thunder. "Break the human. Leave the child, alive. The mother dies last." Dozens of armored hunters advanced, their steps pounding like war drums. Ethan's hands trembled on his weapon, but his voice was steady. "Stay behind me, no matter what happens." Lyra clutched her mother, who could barely stand. Her glowing eyes filled with fear but also with something stronger. Trust. The first hunter charged. Fire and Steel Ethan dropped to one knee and fired. The blast hit the hunter's chest, throwing him back into the cages. Sparks and blood sprayed as prisoners cheered weakly. Another hunter lunged with claws raised. Ethan rolled aside, shooting point blank into its mask. The creature collapsed with a scream. But for every hunter that fell, two more closed in. Their blades slashed, their armor clanged. Ethan fought like a cornered wolf, his blaster glowing hot, his breath sharp. One strike grazed his arm, burning through his sleeve. He hissed in pain but didn't stop. Lyra cried out, "Ethan!" "I'm fine," he growled, even as blood ran down his skin. The captain watched, unmoving, as if amused. "You fight like fire, human, but fire always burns out." A desperate, Gamble Ethan's blaster whined, energy low. He had only a few shots left. The hunters pressed closer, forcing him back. His boots slipped on the metal floor. Then his eyes caught the conduits above, the same ones he had blasted earlier. More pipes glowing with raw energy ran across the ceiling. A dangerous idea sparked in his mind. He fired not at the hunters, but at the ceiling. Bolts tore through the conduits. Electricity rained down in a blinding storm. The blast consumed half the chamber, frying hunters in a wave of lightning. Prisoners screamed, chains rattling as sparks lit the cages. The survivors howled in rage, scattering back. Smoke filled the air. Ethan coughed, dragging himself up. His body shook, but he grinned through blood. "Still alive." Lyra stared at him in awe. You fight like 10 warriors." Ethan gave a bitter laugh. "Feels like I've been hit by 10 too. The escape plan." With the chaos buying him moments, Ethan turned to Lyra's mother. She leaned weakly on her daughter, her voice rough. "You cannot win here. Too many." "Not trying to win," Ethan said. "Just trying to get out." He pointed toward a maintenance shaft on the far wall. "That vent leads back to the outer hull. If we reach it, we can get to the ship." But between them and the vent stood the hunter captain. He raised his blade again, sparks running down its edge. "You will not leave, human," he growled. "This is where your kind dies." Clash of wills. Ethan stepped forward, blaster low, eyes locked on the towering figure. "If you want them, you'll have to go through me." The captain laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "Gladly." He charged. The floor shook under his weight. Ethan dodged the first strike, the blade carving a crater in the steel. He fired his last shots, 1, 2, 3, straight into the captain's chest. The blasts burned against the armor but didn't break it. The captain swung again, clipping Ethan's side. Pain exploded through his ribs. He staggered, nearly falling. Lyra screamed, "Ethan, no!" But Ethan forced himself upright, blood on his lips. His eyes burned with defiance. "You're strong," he spat. "But you don't get it. Humans don't break." The captain roared and raised his blade for the final strike. But Ethan wasn't aiming at the hunter anymore. His blaster's last charge was already fired, straight into the energy core at the base of the glowing pillar. The chain system exploded. Power surged through the floor, ripping across the chamber in a storm of fire and light. Hunters screamed as the blast threw them off their feet. The captain himself staggered, roaring in fury. Ethan used the moment. He grabbed Lyra's arm with one hand, her mother's with the other. "Run!" They sprinted through the smoke toward the maintenance shaft. Behind them, the prison burned with chaos. Cliffhanger ending as they reached the shaft. The walls trembled violently. Sirens howled louder. Above, heavy metal doors slammed shut. The prison ship was sealing itself. Ethan shoved Lyra and her mother inside the narrow vent, forcing them forward. "Go! I'll hold them back." Lyra's eyes widened in horror. "No, you're coming with us." But Ethan turned, blaster empty, facing the shadows where the captain rose again, blade glowing red through the smoke. The hunter's voice thundered. "You cannot run, human. This ends now." Ethan's chest rose and fell. His weapon was gone. His body was broken. But his eyes still burned. He whispered almost to himself, "Then let's end it." The chamber shook as the two enemies prepared to clash. The chamber burned with smoke and fire. Sparks rained from the broken conduits. Prisoners screamed in their cages. And in the center of the chaos, two figures faced each other, Ethan battered and bleeding, and the Sky Hunter captain, his massive blade glowing red. Hook. Suspense start. The captain's voice boomed like thunder. "You are weak flesh, human. This is where your fire dies." Ethan spat blood, his chest heaving. His blaster was empty, his body aching from wounds. But his eyes stayed sharp, burning with a stubborn light. "You don't get it," he rasped. "Humans don't die easy. We fight until the end." The captain roared and charged. Clash of titans. The hunter's blade sliced through the smoke, aiming for Ethan's chest. Ethan dove aside, the weapon grazing his ribs and sending fire through his body. He gasped but kept moving. He grabbed a broken pipe from the floor, just a length of metal, sharp at one end. It was nothing compared to the hunter's blade, but it was all he had. The captain swung again. Sparks exploded as metal met metal. Ethan's arm shook under the impact, but he pushed back, teeth clenched. The hunter laughed cruelly. "You think a stick will save you?" Ethan forced a grin through the pain. "It's not the weapon. It's the hand holding it." A mother's. Strength behind him, Lyra and her mother crawled through the maintenance shaft. But the mother, weak as she was, stopped. She looked back at the human standing alone against the monster. Her voice was faint but firm. "He cannot fight alone." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "But he told us to go." "He fights for us," her mother whispered. "Then we must believe in him." Her glowing eyes burned with pride as she pressed her hand to the shaft wall, whispering old words of her people. Symbols lit faintly along the metal, reacting to her voice. The energy pulsed outward, toward Ethan. He felt it, a sudden warmth flooding his body, easing the fire in his wounds. His muscles steadied, his vision sharpened. He glanced back, meeting the mother's eyes. She gave a small nod. Strength flowed through him, turning the tide. The captain roared, striking again. But this time Ethan didn't stumble. He caught the blade with his broken pipe, twisting it aside. Sparks exploded. He lunged forward, ramming the pipe into the gap under the hunter's arm. The beast howled in pain, swinging wildly. Ethan ducked, slamming the pipe again into the exposed joint. The captain staggered. His armor cracked. Ethan panted, blood dripping down his face. "Not so invincible now, are you?" The hunter's red eyes burned brighter with rage. "You will still die." He swung his blade in a furious arc. Ethan barely rolled aside, the weapon carving deep into the floor. Ethan seized the moment, driving the pipe straight into the hunter's chest. The monster howled, collapsing to one knee. The sacrifice, but before Ethan could finish him, alarms screamed louder. The prison ship shook violently. The power core, damaged by Ethan's earlier blasts, was collapsing. The captain's mask twisted into a grin. "Foolish human, you will die with us." Ethan staggered back, heart racing. The ship was going to explode. He looked at the shaft where Lyra and her mother waited. He knew the truth. There wasn't time for all of them to escape. He limped toward them, pushing Lyra's shoulder gently. "Go, get her out." Lyra shook her head, tears falling. "Not without you." Ethan forced a smile, though his eyes were heavy. "You said it yourself. Your mother is strong. So are you. The galaxy needs that. More than it needs me, her." Mother's voice broke. "Human, you cannot give your life for us." But Ethan only grinned. "That's what humans do. We protect, even when it hurts." The explosion, the hunter captain, still bleeding, tried to rise. Ethan grabbed a loose, explosive charge from his belt, the last of his supplies. He slammed it against the captain's chest and shoved him back toward the glowing core. The captain roared, trying to tear it free. Ethan turned one last time to Lyra, his voice strong despite the blood on his lips. "Remember this. Humans don't break." He pressed the detonator. The explosion tore through the chamber. Fire swallowed the hunter captain, then the core itself. The prison ship shook with a thunderous boom. The aftermath, Lyra screamed as her mother pulled her deeper into the vent. The blast behind them roared like a sun bursting to life. The shaft collapsed, but somehow the energy hurled them outward into the void of space. Their escape pod floated free, spinning into the stars. Lyra clung to her mother, sobbing. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, faintly, a beacon lit up. Another small ship drifted through the debris, burned, battered, but alive. Ethan's ship. Inside, Ethan sat slumped in the pilot's chair, wounded but breathing. His chest rose and fell slowly, stubbornly refusing to quit. Lyra's tears turned to laughter as she cried out, "He lives! The human lives!" A new legend. They docked with his ship. Lyra and her mother entered, bowing their heads with respect. Her mother placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You fought when no one else would. You stood against the Sky Hunters alone. Your kind humans are stronger than legends say." Ethan gave a tired smile. "Stronger? Nah. Just too stubborn to quit." But word spread quickly. Across the stars, whispers began. A single human had defied the Sky Hunters. A single human had freed the prisoners. A single human had survived, and the galaxy would never forget it.